virtual kameranya. Nah ini jadi tampilan OBS di sini.
Iya, ya. Terus nggak perlu itu kamera. Nggak masuk. Udah mati.
Ininya sih bisa sih Pak sebenarnya. Nggak suara dari sini kan maksudnya kan? Iya. Enggak, ini suara dari speednya di sini Pak. Kalau ini suara di sini Mas, di sini bukan di sini. Dia bikin pakai prodi. Jadi Pak ya, dimatikan berarti. Enggak, dia lakukan jadi Pak ya, dimatikan berarti. Enggak, dia lakukan jadi Pak ya, dimatikan berarti. Enggak, dia lakukan
Faculty of Administrative Science, the home of future leaders.
Welcome to the Faculty of Administrative Science, Brawijaya University. My name is Professor Dr. Bambang Supriyono, MS, Dean of Studies. We would like to introduce Faculty of Administrative Science to you. Faculty of Administrative Science is the first Faculty of Administrative Science in Indonesia, established in 1963. Our vision is to be considered the most qualified institutions in administrative science by the people of Indonesia and people all over the world. Classroom and laboratories are a comfortable place which supports the student in achieving their academic activities. There are 143 professional lectures, which consists of 14 professors and 56 doctors. We are focusing on how to create young administrators in very single field that have the ability to lead and develop in business and public administration science. We currently offer two majors. There are public administrations and business administrations. Public administrations has 3 undergraduate programs: public administrations, library science, and education administration. In business administrations, we have 3 undergraduate programs: business administrations, taxations, and tourism science. Besides that, we have master and doctoral program. Master program consists of Master of Public Administration, Master of Business Administration, and Master of Art in Higher Education. For doctoral program of Administrative Science, we have Doctor of Public Administration and Doctor for Business Administration. We are also active in the ASEAN International Forum, such as Southeast Asian Governance Forum, Business Model Competitions, Governance Model Competitions, Tech on Conference and Seminar, and many more. There are 3 main components that create an administrator: problem solving, innovation, and integrity. Problem solving, this includes the concept of using out of the box thinking to develop creative solutions. We have been contributing a lot of research to the environmental and society. We also help the government in facing the problems appearing in society. Innovative. We are always being innovative with new knowledge. We have modern facilities to create a fun education atmosphere. Students will be trying to learn new subjects with interactive process anywhere and anytime. Integrity. We are committing to science development and giving society knowledge to how to solve problems through science research. Let's see together real proof when you are in the Faculty of Administrative Science. More than 10,000 graduate students have found excellent work as administrators. So, what are you waiting for? Come and join us.
Pak Faisal nggak sampai join, Pak.
Belum. Marco sudah ya?
Can we start?
Okay then.
Okay, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aulia Puspaninggali, and I will be the moderator of this event. First of all, it's my pleasure to welcome you all here in the Zoom meeting room and YouTube streaming this afternoon. I hope okay. Okay. Okay, let's start over again. I'm sorry. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aulia Puspaninggali, and I will be the moderator of this event. First of all, it's my pleasure to welcome you all here in the Zoom meeting room and YouTube streaming this afternoon. I hope you are in the best condition, especially in the middle of COVID-19 pandemic. I would like to thank you to Dean of Faculty of Administrative Science, Professor Bambang Supriyono, Vice Deans of Faculty of Administrative Science, Assistant Professor Yusri Abdillah, PhD, Associate Professor Dr. Hamidah Nayati Utami, and Assistant Professor Dr. Muhammad Rozikin. Head of Department of Public Administration, Associate Professor Andi Fefta Wijaya, PhD, all of faculty members, and all of the audience for joining this event. The topic of this online course is Public Finance and Fiscal Policy. The course will be delivered by guest speakers that have joined us today. They are, the first one is Associate Professor Marco Brunazzo from Trento University, Italy. Buongiorno, Professor Brunazzo. Second one, Mr. Nur Faisal Ahmad, PhD, from Ministry of Finance, Republic of Indonesia. Nice to see you, Mr. Nur Faisal. And the third one is Assistant Professor Fadilah Amin, PhD, from Universitas Brawijaya. Nice to see you, Prof. Amin. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I would like to invite the Head of Public Administration Study Program, who serves as the host of this event, to give welcome remarks. Please welcome Assistant Professor Fadilah Amin, PhD. Prof. Fadilah Amin, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Ms. Aulia. Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I'm pleased to be here together with you all to start our special event this afternoon, which is the 3-in-1 program conducted by Bachelor Program of Public Administration under the Faculty of Administrative Science, Brawijaya University. The Honorable the Dean of Faculty of Administrative Science, Professor Dr. Bambang Supriyono, and also the Vice Dean for Academic Affairs, Assistant Professor Yusri Abdillah, PhD, the Head of Department of Public Administration, Associate Professor Andi Fefta Wijaya, PhD, and also the faculty members, lecturers, the students, and all participants who are already in the system right now. Thank you very much for joining us. Let me also introduce the special guest lecturer who will contribute in this online class, which is first is Associate Professor Marco Brunazzo from Trento University, Italy. Thank you very much, and welcome again in our online class. Highest appreciation to you, to your willingness to become the guest lecturer in our program. Hopefully, your contribution will be significantly give us and give our students something very beneficial, both for the current condition and particularly in the future. And also for Dr. Nur Faisal Ahmad, PhD, from the Ministry of Finance, Republic of Indonesia, who also are willing to join and contribute to share his knowledge and his experiences regarding public finance and budgeting in this event. The Dean and the head of department and also the all participants. Let me give some brief report regarding this event. It is this 3-in-1 program is actually the program of Brawijaya University, and the bachelor program of public administration is as one of program under the Faculty of Administrative Science participate to succeed this program. And in detail, I can brief report to all participants at the moment that is this 3-in-1 program will take time 5 days from today to Friday. So from today and tomorrow it will be online class with 3 distinguished speakers. First is, as I mentioned earlier, is the associate professor Marco Brunaso from Italy, and then the second one is Dr. Nur Faisal Ahmad, and then the third one is myself. We will jointly present the material regarding budgeting policy and politics. Obviously, Associate Professor Marco Brunaso will present the policy and politics of budgeting in European countries, particularly in Italy. And then Dr. Nur Faisal Ahmad will present regarding the budgeting policy in national level in Indonesia, and myself will present about the budgeting policy and politics in local government level. And then after 2 days will be followed by a talk session. In this particular event, Associate Professor Marco Brunaso and Dr. Nur Faisal Ahmad will give brief orientation regarding about their institution. Dr. Marco will give orientation about the Trento University, about the condition over there, how to study over there, and any possibility for our students to study in the particular university. And also, Dr. Nur Faisal Ahmad will briefly explain about any possibilities in Ministry of Finance of Republic Indonesia, what opportunity available over there, for example, for conducting internship, or maybe if it is possible for getting job over there for particular alumni of our university. And then also on Thursday, we will discuss about the building institutional collaboration between Brawijaya University and Trento University. And then the last agenda, last but not least, we will discuss as well about the opportunity of institutional collaboration between Brawijaya University with Ministry of Finance, Republic of Indonesia. Again, thank you very much for the contribution of the distinguished speakers who will participate, who will contribute in this special event, and hopefully it will be very beneficial and also give wonderful knowledge and also experience, primarily for my students. The participant will be around will be projected around 300 or something. It is maximum number, but currently still join around 214, and maybe other participants will join us a little bit soon. I think that's all for my speech. Again, let me give highest appreciation for any parties who have contributed to this event, particularly to all members of committee or organizer who already work extremely hard to succeed this special event. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof. Fadilah Amin. Before we going to the next agenda, for all the audience, especially for the students, please turn on your camera in your Zoom meeting room. Okay, thank you. Next, I would like to invite the Head of Department of Public Administration, Associate Professor Andi Fefta Wijaya, PhD, to give welcome remarks. To Prof. Andi Fefta Wijaya, the time is yours. Prof. Andi Fefta, are you joining us?
Yes. Okay,
Okay,
thank you. Thank you, Bu Aulia. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, we will start. I would like to thanks to the all effort they already keep to realize this occasion, and also I would like to thanks to faculty, especially the dean and vice dean 1, 2, 3, who I think also here. I look here is Pak Yusri also here. Thank you for the support from the dekanat to realize this special venue 3-in-1. I think this is very good event. And also, I would like to say thanks, especially for honorable guest, Associate Professor Marco Brunazo. I think I sent WA, WhatsApp to Professor Marco. I think we have a chat last year. In some that we want to do something together last year, but now we can realize this year in terms of 3-in-1 program by daring system. Thank you very much. You welcome to Brawijaya University and my Faculty of Administrative Science. And also to Bapak Nur Faisal Ahmad, PhD, Kepala Kantor Wilayah Dirjen Perbendaharaan Provinsi Maluku. Thanks a lot to give and to transfer your knowledge to our Civita Academica here. A very important practical information I think they will share to us. And also, of course, yeah, Dr. Fadila Amin as the head of a study program, yeah, and also all the supporting crew or even organizer, yeah, from also lecturer and also student who support this event. I think this is very good event for us, yeah. And I also would like to give a little bit comment about budget policy in Indonesia. Yeah, if we see about budget policy, there are at least four aims. Yeah, for the budget policy. The first one is to keep economic stability. Yeah, untuk menjaga stabilitas ekonomi. To keep in terms of such as to control inflation, yeah, to control price fluctuation. This is the function of budget policy. And also the second, to create job opportunity, pro job. In this case, we try to overcome unemployment problem. Yeah, this is also the budget policy function. Yeah? And also the third, for economic growth. And in this case, we try to boost, yeah, economic growth by investment, by invite many chance opportunity to work together and to invite investor to invest in our area. This is also a good important thing to do. And also the last is about income equality. Ya. Dalam hal ini adalah keadilan dan pemerataan pendapatan. Usually we look to the index like index Gini or index index Williamson is to see the level of pemerataan pendapatan, income equality in certain area. Ya. Nah, Bapak Ibu sekalian, in terms of our national budget, we plan that we will give funding about 2,600 trillion in this year. But we still have we still like look at, yeah, whether this is can be achieved or not, because on term of tax, yeah, it is predicted that we maybe just only can get about 1,500 something, yeah. I think more or less, yeah. This is the kemampuan, ya, capacity of kita mendapatkan tax, ya. So I think still a big gap, yeah. So from the previous plan, and also as we see now, we have in the epidemic epidemic COVID-19, yeah. And in this case, we also try to give stimulus about 700 trillion to handle COVID-19 and also for national economic recovery. But until October, just only 40% of the budget has been distributed. This is also the big issue. So it means only about 3 trillion just executed. And also, last Saturday, I was interviewed by a national newspaper, yeah, Koran Jakarta, and I give a comment in the newspaper about lack of target distribution in the industry in allocating the budget, yeah, especially for the target group, and many people who deserve to get the budget, but in fact they are not get it. They are not getting it. So it's mean that I think still many homework here. Budget policy is very important issue, I think, and this is very good topic. I think public administration study program, I think this is a very good important issue, and this is catching eye, yeah? eye catching, yeah, this topic, and this is also very urgent in this moment. So Bapak dan Ibu sekalian dan adik-adik anak-anakku, ya, please have a good time here. We have expert, yeah, tidak hanya from academician ya, dan juga practitioner ya. This is very good moment for you, and then please let you ask anything that you want to know about this, and this is I think very important discussion that you can have during your study time here. I think that's all ya, Bapak Ibu sekalian, and my student have a good time, and to my honorable guests ya, I hope that you have a good time with us, and keep continue our cooperation for the next ya. Thank you very much. I will back to Bu Aulia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Andi Wijaya. Now I would like to invite the Dean of Faculty of Administrative Science, Universitas Brawijaya, that will be represented by Vice Deans of Academic Affairs, Assistant Professor Yusri Abdillah, PhD, to give opening speech. To Assistant Professor Yusri Abdillah, PhD, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Aulia. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me first to give my greeting to our speaker, Professor Marco Brunazzo. Good morning, Professor. I think still morning in Italy right now. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's around 10 and a half.
10 and a half. Okay. Yeah. So Italy is still 5 hours behind Indonesia times, especially West Indonesia time. Already afternoon here and running to evening. Now here is 4 o'clock p.m. And also I would like to greet Bapak Nur Faisal Ahmad, PhD. Selamat sore, good afternoon.
Selamat sore, good afternoon, Prof. It's already Maghrib here in Ambon.
Oh, right. Yes, because Ambon's about
2 hours.
2 hours
ahead,
faster than Jakarta. Okay. And then also Dr. Fadil Amin is my colleague in Brawijaya University. And also I would like to greet everyone here in 3-in-1 program for public administration program of Brawijaya University. Okay, I would like to thanks also to all of the team who provide this event for students in bachelor program in public administration to get experience from various lecturers here, and how to get perspective from different country, different theory or different model in applying public finance and also fiscal policy here. Before I get started, I would like to express my high appreciation to all of the speakers, because without your participation in this program, I think this program is not provide a valuable thing for our student. And also I would like to inform to all of participants here that in our faculty, in Faculty of Administrative Science, we have 6 undergraduate program, namely Public Administration Program, Business Administration Program, Taxation Program, Education Program, and Library Program, and Tourism Program. And also we have 3 master program here in the Faculty of Administrative Science, namely Master in Public Administration, Master in Business Administration, and Master in Higher Education. And also we have a doctoral program in Administrative Science. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in this lecture, public finance and fiscal policy, it is very interesting to get perspective from our speaker to this afternoon, because Professor Marco Brunazzo will talk from the perspective of comparative politics. As we know that the implementation of public finance and fiscal policy is quite different in between each country, and then usually in one region we adopt quite similar quite similar policy in fiscal and public finance. For example, if in Indonesia, here in Indonesia, we adopt a model of accounting. So many company in Malaysia, Philippines, and Singapore also adopt the same thing, because we are in the what do you call this, one region, which is we have a collaboration one to each other intensively in trade and also in governmental policy. So from the perspective of practice, we have Mr. Dr. Nur Faisal Ahmad, who is staff from Ministry of Finance, and I think from his perspective we can learn many things about finance policy, because now he is in Maluku, is in his position as Treasury in Directorate General in the province of Maluku. So, and the third speaker here, Assistant Professor Fadila Amin, PhD, he will talk about how to manage public finance. And then I hope students can get perspective from two countries, from Indonesia and from Italia. So it will be reach their perspective in getting knowledge about public financial and fiscal policy. Okay, this lecture will be conducted in 2 or 3 days. Our university has a program like this program, 3-in-1 program, which is invite a speaker or professor from abroad and collaborate with practitioners from Indonesia, and also lecture from our university ourselves. So as the time is very limited, I would not like to take much of the time, and I hope this lecture and this discussion will provide more and more big impact of our perspective in studying public administration, more particularly about public finance and fiscal policy. Okay, that's what I can give in this opening speech. Again, thank you very much for Professor Marco Brunazzo for having here with us. I hope we will get a lot of things from your experience in Italia or maybe in Europe, because you also have an expert in European politics. So I hope it will give us very insight to learn about politics and public administration. Okay, and also again, thank you very much for Dr. Faisal Ahmad to join us here. I hope you will provide us a lot of practical issue in public finance and fiscal policy in Indonesia. Okay, thank you very much again for everyone here, and I hope this discussion and this lecture will give us more knowledge to develop our capability and capacity in develop the better world. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, good morning, Professor Marco, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Yusri Abdillah. Now let's start the main session of our event today. Today we'll talk about public finance and fiscal policy in Europe's and Indonesia's perspectives. There are three main topics that will be delivered by our speakers today: budgeting policy in European countries, budgeting policy in Indonesia, and problematics and challenges policy implementation in Indonesia. Before I invite the speakers to share their ideas, I would like to mention some information for this event. Please press raise hand button if you have any questions, and I will call you when question and answer session has started. Or you can write down your question in the chat box, and I will read your question to the speakers. And for the audience, you can access the attendance form on bit.ly/%C3in1 public. We will share the link in the chat box, so don't worry about it. And this information is for all the speakers. Each of you will have 20 to 25 minutes to deliver your course material. Okay, our first speaker is Associate Professor Marco Brunazzo. He is a lecturer in Department of Sociology and Social Research, University of Trento, Italy. Besides being a lecturer, he is also a reviewer for some international journals and a reviewer for international publisher, Manchester University Press, Routledge. Associate Professor Marco Brunazzo, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen if I can. No, I cannot see. Okay, maybe. Let me check. Okay, can you see the screen? The PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, Prof,
okay.
You can see.
Okay, good, perfect.
Yes, I can see.
Okay, thank you. So thank you very much for this very kind invitation to discuss with you about budgeting policy in European countries. Let me thank in particular Professor Yusri Abdillah, Andy Feita, Winyang, and Fadila Amin for having organized this online meeting. I was very happy to accept this invitation. Maybe I have to explain why I'm here and there. Some months ago, before this COVID-19 crisis, I met Dr. Ali Maskur in Thailand, in Ban Seng at Burapha University, and we started to talk about possible cooperations between our universities. Yeah, after a first attempt of collaboration some months ago, this is the first real opportunity we have to share our idea, to know each other better. I am not sure I will be able to answer to all the questions you have raised in the presentation. First of all, because of time constraint, I have 20-25 minutes, and you raised many questions. So for sure I won't be able to cope with all of them in the presentation, maybe in the discussion. Secondly, I am not an economist. I am a political scientist, And this is different. I mean, because I cannot do the economist, I can only speak about what I know better, politics. So what I will try to do in this brief presentation is to mainly to describe or to offer to you some criteria to better understand what is budget, what is budgeting, and what is budgeting policies in European countries. For sure, I won't be able to explain what is going on in all, let's say, 30 or 35 European countries. I will just offer to you a very general overview of the main differences in budgeting policy and budgeting politics in particular. I have thought, I have organized this presentation since we have another meeting tomorrow. Today I will mainly concentrate on the European national experiences of budgeting policy and politics. And tomorrow I will mainly focus on the EU experience, the European Union budget, that it is very important in the European countries, not only because it's quite a huge budget, but also because there is a need of coordination between the EU budget and the budget of the nation states participating to the European Union. And moreover, many European states have learned a lot about, learned a lot from the European Union budget experience. If you don't see any data today, you will see data tomorrow when I will go deeper in the presentation on the EU budget and EU budgetary policy at European level, at European Union level. So from a political scientist point of view, a budget is particularly important because the public budget is the outcome of public choices. And the budget are not only driven by economic and technical criteria, but it is driven by also by political criteria. Choices are always driven by different interests, are always influenced by different interests, different actors. And so it is very interesting for a political science, look at how budgets are decided and what are the implications of budget policy for, more in general, democracy, and in particular accountability, because the government do not spend their own money, they spend the money of the citizens, and the citizens have to know how their money are spent by their government. I will try to, in this presentation, in this brief presentation, to explain, so what is a public budget, why a public budget is the outcome of political choices, and also economic and technical choices. And I will explain what is a public budgeting, particularly looking at the European countries' experience. So what is public budget? As I said, public budget is a technical, economic process for sure, but it is also a political process. Why? Because budget reflects choices about what the government will do and will not do. They reflect the public consensus about what kind of services government should provide and what citizens are entitled to as members of society. So budget reflects also priorities between police and flood control, daycare or defense, investment in the south or in the north of the countries, the southeast or in the southwest, so in the different regions. So the budget process mediates among groups and individuals who want different things from the government and determines who gets what. So there is always a definition behind the decision of the budget, of the priorities of the government. And these priorities reflect, in a way, the degree of importance that legislators place on satisfying their constituents and responding to interest groups' demands. For example, legislator may decide to spend more money to keep a military base open because the local economy depends on it, and to spend less money to improve combat readiness. Fourth, a budget provides accountability for citizens, as I said, who want to know how the government is spending their money and whether government has generally followed their preferences. Budgeting links citizens' preferences and governmental outcomes. And it's a powerful tool for implementing democracy. Fifth, a budget reflects the citizen preferences for different forms and level of taxation, as well as the ability of some taxpayers groups to shift tax burdens to others. The budget indicates the degree to which the government redistributes wealth upward and downwards through the tax system. At the national level, the budget influences the economy, and so fiscal policy influences how many people are out of work at any time, for example. Finally, budgetary decision-making provides the pictures of relative powers of budget actors within and between branches of government, as well as of the importance of citizens, interest groups, and political parties. Budget is always the outcome of a long process of negotiation between actors, and the actors can change during the process, but can change from country to country, and can change accordingly to the constitution, can change accordingly to the law of the different countries. So this is one of the reasons of the richest of the European experiences, because the actors participating in the definition of the Italian budget are different from the actors participating in the definition of French or German budgets. But anyway, what is important here, and what I would like you consider important and retain and remember from this first slide is that really budget is always the outcome of a political process, a political decision-making process. And this is, in a way, what is it? Budgeting. Budgeting means allocating scarce resources, implying choices. Budgeting implies a balance between revenues and expenditures and between the different interests of the actors involved in the process. Budgeting is important because of the specific decision policy, of the specific policy decisions it reflects. Decisions about the scope of the governments, the distribution of wealth, the openness of government to interest groups, and the accountability of government to the public at large. And the essence of budgeting is that it's about allocating scarce resources. And this is why also everyone in day-by-day life always budge. Just to make an example, a child makes a budget, a plan for spending, balancing revenues and expenditure when she decides to spend money on a marshmallow rabbit rather than a chocolate one, assuming she has no money for both marshmallows and chocolate, but just for one item. And sometimes budget compares is the process, it's the outcome of a comparison of comparable things. More often, it's a comparison between different and uncomparable things. So, for example, a government has to decide if it is better to invest in defense or in schools. It's a very difficult choice, and in a way between incomparable things, but this is the reason why budget policy is so important, because it affects the life, the day-by-day life of the citizens. This comparison is important because the resources are scarce, are limited, and the government cannot accommodate every interest, every pressure, every actor, everyone in a way. So budgeting cannot proceed without some kind of decision process, and the process determines who will have a say at what point in the decision making, the structures, the comparisons among, and structures the comparison among alternatives. A successful budget assures that decisions are made in proper governmental budgeting, is also concerned with procedures for managing trade-off between large categories of spending. So let's take a look to the European experiences. And I will present to you 4 main criteria and elements under discussion now in Europe on how to take these decisions concerning the budget. The first features of governmental budgeting in Europe is, as I said, the variety of participants who have different priorities and different levels of powers over the outcome. In family and business budgeting, there may be only one or few actors or few kinds of actors, and they may have similar views of what they want to budget to achieve. At the governmental level, at state level, things are much more complicated. The plurality of participants allow us to speak about a governance of budgeting. And the characteristics of the governance of budgeting differs from country to country and is influenced by the institutional settings, but also cultural approaches. If you look at the different, let's say, formalization of the public budgeting in a very small sample of European countries, you can have an idea of what I'm saying. In France and in Germany, the form and the structure of the budget is decided in the constitution. In Italy and the Netherlands, in the national laws. At the same time, the roles and responsibilities of the executive and of the legislature can vary in the different member states, and the legal source can be different. The role of the executive and the legislatures is written in the French constitution. The role of the executive is written just in a national law in Germany, Italy, and in the Netherlands. The role of the legislator is written in the constitution in Germany and in Italy, and in the law in the Netherlands. So here you can see that there is a different degree of formalization that in a way can reflect also a different degree of centralization of the policy-making process that is maximum in France and less centralized in Germany, in Italy, and in the Netherlands. A second feature where there is more uniformity is in the role of the central budget authority. In many European countries, the central budget authority, that is to say, the institutions in charge of leading the budget process, and therefore has the capacity to influence the institutional arrangements for budgeting, is the Ministry of Economic and Finance. In Italy, for example, the State General Accounting Department within the Ministry of Economic and Finance is responsible for all the budgeting process together with the presidency of the Council of Ministers, let's say, the office of our Prime Minister. There is only one country in Europe in which the central budget authority role is split in two different departments, and this is the case of Ireland. In Ireland, there is the Department of Finance in charge of micro, fiscal, and tax policy, and the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform in charge of expenditure policy. But even in Ireland, since 2017, both these two departments, even if they remain distinct, are led by the same government minister. Third feature, a very hot topic, is related to transparency, accountability in particular. As I said, the government spends the money of the citizens, and the citizens have to know how their money are spent by the rulers. And here you can see some data taken from an OECD report on the transparency, the budget information, and the change of the publication of budget information over time in OECD countries. And you can see that even in the last few years, between 2012 and 2018, this transparency has grown a lot. Just to make an example, as Italian citizens, and Italy is one of the most transparent countries under this respect, I can know exactly how many euros are spent of what I have paid in taxes to my government. I can know how many euros I gave to my government, and I know how many euros the government has invested in the research, in the healthcare system, in hospitals, in defense, and so on and so forth. This is a very important issue, as I said, because it is related to democracy. Citizens should know, must know how the government spend their money, because they have to know, they have to understand if they want to reconfirm their confidence to the government, or they want to take their confidence back in the next election. Finally, another difference between the different European countries is the adoption of medium-term expenditure framework. The European countries now adopt a budget that it is split on a different time span. Let's say that the governments decide the ceilings that it is and applies these ceilings in the different years. So France, for example, takes decisions, budgetary decision for 3 years, like Italy, Germany and the Netherlands for 4 years. But the governments should adapt their budget each year. For example, according if there is a pandemic like a COVID-19 crisis, the government should be able to adapt these ceilings and this medium-term expenditure framework. And this is another source of differences between the different European states, because some European states is much more flexible in adapting this medium-term expenditure framework to the different agenda and the different difficulties, let's say, a country have to cope with. So I think my time is gone. So I stop here. But I would really, and I hope I would. I have been able to offer to you just a very brief and very general overview of the budgeting process in the European countries, but also to offer to you some degree, some criteria for a comparison of the different budgeting policy and the budgeting politics in the European experiences. So thank you very much again for this invitation, and I look forward to hear the speech of my co-panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Brunazzo. And our second speaker is Mr. Nur Faisal Ahmad, PhD. He is the head of Regional Office of Directorate General of Treasury, Maluku Province. And he will talk about implementation of budgeting policy in national level. Mr. Nur Faisal Ahmad, the time is yours.
Thank you, Mbak Aulia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, all. Okay, particularly special thanks to Professor Andi, Professor Yusri, and also distinguished speaker, Professor Marco and Professor Amin. Okay, I try to present probably there's several days we'll present, but today I would like to present about Indonesian budget features, because Marco already said about budget features in Europe, but I think the component is quite similar in Indonesia. And before I start, I also said thanks to Professor Andi already mentioned about the function of the budget. Yes, of course, budget has function as a tool for allocation, distribution, and also stabilization. Or some people said about pro-poor, pro-growth, pro-job, and I think in the current situation, pro-environment as well. So green budgets become important in the future. So let me share my presentation. Okay, can you see my presentation? Yep.
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. Uh, tomorrow I will discuss about how the government respond to government budget respond to pandemic COVID. But today I'll try to explain about Indonesia budget feature, because so many student here and focus on budget administration. I think it will be valuable if we know about Indonesian budget features. As many things explained by Professor Marco, similar with Indonesian situation, we have to know about our budget features. So, of course, we have to know that Indonesian budget, yes, of course, budget years is 1 year. It starts from January 1st until December 31. It's not only for central government, but also to local government as well. Okay. Yes, it is the first point, and then the second one, you also have to understand that in order to that easier understand, easier to read government budget, so government Indonesia applied like I account type, not P account type, not right hand side, but from top to the bottom. So we present revenues and in detail. Revenues can be from taxes, non-taxes, and also from grant. And then in expenditure sides, after revenue, government will present expenditures for central agencies, for state line ministries and agencies, and also including budget for transfer to local governments, including village funds, right? Or Indonesia Dana Desa. And of course, we will compare between revenue and expenditure, whether government apply budget deficit or surplus deficit. And then it will be covered, fulfilled by financing instrument, how government fill the gap between revenue and expenditures. And then we have to know also about fiscal rules, yeah, because I discussed today in the normal situation, but when we talk about how government respond to COVID-19, of course, these fiscal rules is changed a bit. But Indonesia, as mandated by Constitution, we allocate 20% for education. It's quite big, right? And then 5% for health. It's also represent, like Marco said, about public choice. So government try to support education and health as the basic need for the people. And to support local government, 26% of net domestic revenues is transferred for general allocation fund for each local government. And like other European countries, OECD countries, Indonesia also apply some rules that in our budget, we hope that it do not exceed budget deficit more than 3%. It's a normal time. And also government try to maintain that the figure of government debt to GDP is less than 60%. Yeah, currently more or less around 30%. So about budget type, maybe the student have to know also that after reform, government try to do some changes, and then some of them in the budget type. So we apply unified budget, do not segregate between recurrent budget and development budget, all in one process, one document. And then also government applied performance-based budgeting. So not input-based budgeting. So try to focus on output and outcome for the budget is produced. Yeah. It's part of transparency to the people as well, to the people and also to the parliament. And like Professor Marco said, Indonesia also apply medium-term expenditure framework. Maybe the duration in some European countries is more length than Indonesia. Indonesia only apply the proposed budget and then the next two following years of the budget. Yeah. So if we propose 2021, so all bureaucrats present predictive budget for 2022 and 2023. And then we also have to know about the budget classification. So budget is divided between in budget organization unit. So it's like ministries, it agencies, and also using function. It is one of the best practice as well. We try to put allocation based on function and sub-function. You also know that. And then program, because we set program for each line ministries, and then we can see what the outcome of each program, activities under program, and what the outcome, what the output of each activities. Many activities will create the outcome of the program. And also economic classification, which mean like salary, recurrent, wages and salaries, operational expense, and also like capital expense here. And maybe if we discuss about budget, we also have to know about the characteristic. I mean that Indonesia set presidential system, yeah, not primary minister system, and it affect the budget as well. So Indonesia try to apply like yes, the CAO, Chief Executive Officer, is the president, but we set segregation duties between Minister of Finance and Minister and Health of Agency, between CAO and COO. So we try to set like check and balance mechanism between COO and COO as well. And although in our law mentioned that we should apply accrual basis, but in current situation, budget still using cash basis and accounting already applied accrual basis. And as part of accountability, like Marco said, to public, to parliament, we have to create a report based on accounting system like budget decision, balance sheet, cash flow statement, and notes to financial statement. And also I would like to explain to the student particularly that even though that budget for 1 year, but actually the process of budget, it takes 2.5 years in Indonesia. I mean that from planning, I think the previous year before the budget execution, and then we take 6 months for accountability report. So it's a long process, but it's part of yes bureaucratic and also political process here. Because in the, let's say, when we prepare a budget for 2021, so we already discussed here in 2020. So in January, we prepare national policy direction and policy development priorities. And then in February, March, we create budget baseline review and setting, already setting indicative allocation for each line ministries, right? So they can prepare work plan and budget in each line ministries. And also budget, actually there's some state fans that why we have to discuss about macroeconomic and main fiscal policies. Yeah, I mean, how about economic growth? How about inflation? Yeah, how about revenue from oil and etc. We will discuss here, including the government set national work plan here. So it will be the guidance for each line ministries to create their work plan and budget. So line ministries should follow national work plan. And I said before that we apply a president decree. Actually, national work plan also will follow presidential vision. Yeah, vision about what he already mentioned in the election period. And then in August, of course, usually in 16 August, President present budget bill and notes to the Parliament. And then we hope that at the end of October, state budget already be acted. Yeah. And then the detail create, and at the end of December, warrant or list of budget execution should be done. And during the year, all line ministries, actually budget is the guidance to all line ministries to do their job in this budget years. And of course, government should report to Parliament. Usually the first semester. After that, present to Parliament about the progress. If there's something happen, maybe was that some indicators get some deviation, so government can propose budget amendment as well. So after that, government in 3 months prepare a budget financial report, and then our Supreme Audit Institution do this audit in 2 months, and finally Financial Accountability Act is issued here. And then this is example of Indonesian budget. So of course it is in aggregate level, but students should see that is part of, like Marco said, how fiscal policy put in the budget here. So like I said before, I try to present the figure for 2019, which is already audited, because I said that 6 months after the end of period, all report has been audited to Supreme Audit Institution and also reported to Parliament. This is our budget when we respond to COVID, and then the next following budget year. So you can see that state budget around 130.71 billion USD here. And then the component, this from taxes, non-taxes, yeah. In Indonesian realization for taxes, actually not achieved as expected. There's some what's that below the target. And then also non-taxes, it comes from non-tax revenue from line ministries and also from public service agencies. We have so many public service agencies, I think, including so many universities, hospital, yeah, and some agencies who manage fund. Yeah. Also a little resource from grant, and then in expenditures, 153.95. So you can see that state revenues is less than expenditures. That's why I create budget deficit for government. You can see that along the year, government apply budget deficit. Yep. And then, like I said before, that it include transfer to local governments, whether for general allocation fund and also specific allocation funds, yeah, and some incentive. And government also not only because level central government, local government, province, and municipal district level, but also in Indonesia we have village as well. So we try to create development from village. Yeah. And you can see that in 2019, like I said before, that fiscal rules less than 3%. 3% actually for central government and local government. And central government, we can achieve 2.2%. Yeah, it is deficit to PDB, and try to create financing 26.8 billion. Of course, it's more than the deficit, but it will be like a saving for the next following years. Okay. Okay, and then I think it's important thing when we read the budget, not only when preparation, but also when the execution and when the budget has been reported and audited. Yeah. And it can create for another policy for the next policy. What should we do in our budget? You can see that how we manage state financing. There's another issue here, including how we increase state budget here, state financing here, how we do extensification, intensification of tax will be we see from here, including how we, like Marco said, about policy choice between each line ministries or maybe types of allocation. Yeah, we discussed in the central government expenditures, including to local government, a fair state allocation to all local government. And then the next presentation for today, actually, you have to know that government try to set separation of power and check and balances between institution of budget, execution, and also the accountability. So of course, executive will discuss with parliament when we create budget, but if budget has been executed, we also should report to Supreme Audit Institution here. And even within executive, like I said before, the segregation between CFO and COO. CFO, Chief Financial Officer, will be Minister of Finance, but Chief Operation Officer will be like Minister Agencies. But we have internal auditor here, BPKP, has role as auditor for line ministry here. And within line ministries, we try to segregate some function financial officer here, and spending unit. And you have to know that Indonesia also apply like let the manager manage. Real manager will be spending unit here. Yeah. Of course, in line ministry also there's Inspectorate General to see the implementation in each spending unit. And in each spending unit, there's try to segregate some roles because you learn about business administration. Become divide several actors, several functions about how who will do some commitment, who will do some verification, and then also who will do like accounting and reporting as well, including one people who maintain petty cash to support the implementation in each line ministries. I think that's all the introduction of Indonesian budget feature. So if you need deeply boss permission, yeah, we will discuss later. Maybe there's Mbak Aulia that I can present for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nur Faisal. Before we're going to the third speaker, I would like to remind you to turn on your video. I'm watching you guys, so please turn on your video. And for the attendance form, will be shared in the end of the session. So please stay tuned on this Zoom meeting room. Okay, and let's going to our third speaker. Our third speaker is Assistant Professor Fadillah Amin, PhD. He is the head of Public Administration Study Program, Universitas Brawijaya. Prof. Fadillah Amin, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. Thank you as well for the previous speakers, Professor Marco and also Dr. Faisal, who already shared some material regarding budgeting policy within in Europe and also in Indonesia at the national level. And as I mentioned before, that my material will focus on the budgeting policy. However, it is a little bit different with what already presented by Dr. Faisal. It is Dr. Faisal's material focus on national level, while my material will be focusing on the local level, local government level anyway. Well, so what I want to say, start from the fiscal and budgeting reform in Indonesia. Obviously, it is in local level anyway. So, long time ago, before the centralistic regime under the presidency of Suharto collapsed. For such long duration, Indonesia applied kind of centralistic system, governance system, which was everything was centrally designed, centrally controlled by national government. And then along with collapse of new order regime, or called Orba in the Indonesian language. So there is issuance of two laws or undang-undang, which is known as a package of local autonomy law. Yeah. It is about the those two laws is regarding the local government and also the balancing of financial relationship between the central government and local government. Which is this constitution that become the main basic of the implementation of local autonomy in Indonesia. And then just would like to brief explain regarding the condition before reform, which is in terms of budgeting method, budgeting system, or something like this. At that time, local government in Indonesia applied kind of line item incremental approach, which is without any performance approach, for example, something like this. And also at that time applied kind of annual budgeting, which is budget set up and then evaluated based on annual basis. For the accounting base, for the technical thing support for the budgeting policy at that time, local government in Indonesia applied a single entry and cash basis accounting system, which is, and then now is already replaced by the new system. I will briefly explain as well about the new system applied by local government in Indonesia right now. Well, and then at the time, the allocated budget just focus on spending the allocated budget without any deep consideration what to what aspect the budget will be spent to increase the economic growth, for example, to increase the prosperity of the local people or something like this. So it is merely less consider performance factors. Just so that's why it is related to the next statement in here. That is, everything is centrally designed and centrally controlled as well by the autocratic or centralistic government at that time. So situation before reform, before 2000, I think it was very easy become local government officials in Indonesia because they just implement the policy that is designed and also created by national level. Local government staff, local government officials just implement and execute whatever policy created and designed by national authorities. So obviously the consequence is there was poor accountability and also not transparent at all. So everything is very, very close. At that time, it's very, very difficult and very struggle to know about what government do, for example, and then to what sector, to what aspect government budget goes, for example, something like this. And then what beneficiaries will enjoy the project conducted by government. It is very, very, very struggle, very difficult to cut. So after that, so I just want to brief explain as well about what have been reformed after government reform started in early 2000 or maybe the end of 19. Okay. So in a theory, as Dr. Faisal mentioned earlier, we can see that the budgeting process consists of 4 main stages, including formulation, validation, execution, and supervision and accountability. Supervision and accountability is one stage actually. So in here there is dramatic change from the old pattern into new system that is introduced by Indonesian government after government reform. So whole process of budgeting system at that time, which consists of 4 main stages as I mentioned before. And also in here there is converted budgeting system. I will elaborate a little bit later. what happened in these states, or also what already happened in the budgeting system, what already converted, something like this. And also in as something that accompany the reform that is did before, there's also changed the budget structure. The time frame of APBD. APBD is annual local government budget, and also the mechanism of the budgeting process. I will explain it a little bit later after this. And there is the significant change as well in terms of local government finance, which is in here after reform. I mean, the central government give a lot of authority to the local government to strengthen their local finance, including like if you still remember what the figure just presented by Dr. Faisal, there is around 1/3 of the national budget goes to local government in terms of transport fund and also village fund, something like this, which is it is actually the form of the consequence of the budget reform, and then also the idea initiative to strengthen local government finance. It is. Well, in here I will give you some brief example, for example, about the process of budgeting in here, which is I mentioned before. There are 4 main stages in here, consists of formulation, validation, execution, and accountability. For first stage, for example, you can see the detailed process of formulation of budget in here. So first, the local government have to create long-term development plan, or RTGMD, long-term development plan. It is valid for the duration of 5 years. So that's why it is usually is the combination or development from the vision of the head of local government presented within the period of the campaign season or something. So usually it is adopted to be a long-term development plan. It is valid for 5 years duration. After this, it is will be elaborated into a yearly work plan and budget. It's called RKA, or maybe it is in Indonesian language. It means that annual work plan and budget. And then local government have to create, namely general policy of budget, and also temporary margin and priority of budget. The next process is creating RKASAPD. It is kind of the plan for work plan and budget for local government bodies. Yeah. After this, they just able to create the draft of annual budget. Sorry, it is not annual budget. Annual budget. So what I want to say in here is actually to illustrate how complicated the process of budgeting in the local government level after that is currently have to be implemented by local governments. It is the routine job, routine tasks that have to be implemented for the local government official. the point what I want to say is about, again, it is completely different compared to situation before reform, which was everything was centrally designed, centrally controlled by national authorities. So the first decade after reform, actually, there are a lot of shock, very shock happens on the local government official, because before they are very convenient, feel relax everything in daily business, because there are there were no lot of requirements without presenting any performance work or something like this. Suddenly, after reform, a lot of things they have to do. They have to do. This just kind of such example that I want to present in front of you all. That is, again, there are a lot of change, dramatic change before and after reform. In validation, execution, and accountability also happen something like this. There are a lot of strict and also detailed process, and also strict process as well. They have official of local government have to be obey the guidelines issued by central government. So in tomorrow I will explain about the challenges and also maybe a little bit achievement of in the local government of official after reform, budgeting reform, as a follow up from the government reform happened in Indonesia. Well, guys, so it is a little bit illustration in here as well. So in the pre-reform, we know at that time local government in Indonesia applied kind of traditional budgeting system, which is light on the incremental line item basis, something like this. However, at the moment, local government in Indonesia applied performance-based budgeting system, which is it is very detailed, very strict. There are a lot of strict procedure in here. So that's why if local government don't have local government staff, local government official don't have appropriate knowledge for this thing, it will be very challenging. It will be very struggle to apply kind of performance-based budgeting. And then let me tell you as well that when I wrote my PhD thesis in Australia under the one of professor in Flinders University, and coincidentally the same supervisor as Dr. Faisal. My academic supervisor was shocked when I told him that Indonesia currently already applied performance-based budgeting since 2003 as the consequence of the issuance of Law 17, 2003 about public finance. Because like my academic supervisor at that time didn't believe that Indonesia as the like just newborn newborn country, something like this, already implemented performance-based budgeting. Yeah, I just realized that it is very in fact it is very complicated anyway, because in 2014 when I was invited by ECPA, European Group for Public Administration. When I was in Australia at that time, and then was invited by ECPA to review some papers and then also present some paper in its conference in Germany at that time. I was a little bit surprised when know that is Norway with I think much better financial management compared to Indonesia. Just applied performance-based budgeting started in 2012 at that time. When Indonesia before without any good preparation or something, they already implemented this kind of budgeting system after directly straight away after the reform. So obviously it will be a lot of impact, a lot of consequences. That is, I will tell you all tomorrow about these consequences as the impact of this implementation of the new system of budgeting. And also in the pre-reform, Indonesian local government implemented annual budgeting, but now implementing medium-term expenditure framework. Because maybe before Indonesia got reform, so maybe it'll be simple and then relatively small the project conducted or handled by a local government. However, in contrast, now a lot of big project already delivered by local government. So that's why they need flexible time to manage this kind of project. So it needs implementation of the medium-term expenditure framework, something like this. So and then, as I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, single entry and cash-based accounting is already replaced with a double entry and accrual accounting system. And also at the time frame of budget start from 1st April to 31st March, and then converted to be 1st January to 31st December. Before reform, Indonesia applied T account, something like this, and then now applying I account. It is single column, something like this. Well, but this is the very crucial issues after reform related to the budgeting system as well. That is, there are policy of national government to strengthen local government finance by issuing and implementing policy of balancing fund. Yes, balancing fund is already showed by figure presented by Dr. Faisal earlier. There are three main components of balancing fund, such as general allocation fund or DAO, and then special allocation fund and sharing fund. It is actually very important for local government to finance their any expenditure, because on local revenue or revenue rise from local government itself is very low percentage in here. So that's why the role of fund transferred by local government is very essential in here. So with this same scheme, local government is a little bit powerful now, even though in average maybe still below 20%. The revenue come from local government themselves. However, it is much better compared to other, before reform. And also, there is improvement in terms of taxing power for local government, because now a lot of tax which was belong to national government, and then converted to be local government tax, like building and land tax or something. Is previously belonged to central government, and then now delegated to be given to the local government. And also in here, local government has much more authority to manage their own financial resources. Again, as I mentioned in my my opening of my presentation, that is before reform, everything was designed, was controlled by local government, and then by central government, national government, and then the local government official just implemented, just execute the policy created by central government. However, now is dramatically changed. Everything about something that they will do in local government is fully, completely under the authority of local government themselves. Well, I think for today, my presentation is end up from this point, and then tomorrow I will explain about the consequences, or maybe what the impact, what the critical notes of this particular reform in terms of fiscal and budgeting system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Amin. Now let's move to question and answer session. There are already several questions in the chat box or on the Slido. I will point several audience to ask their question directly to the speakers. So Sardian Shah, are you there? Please unmute your voice so you can ask directly to the speakers. Sardian Shah. Okay. You can start.
I'm sorry, miss. In this my house, the signal is bad.
It's quite clear. It's okay. Do you want to ask directly?
First, I want to ask the Mr. Nur Faisal Ahmad. My question is, what is meant by deficit of APBD and how to act continue?
Are you done? Okay, Mr. Nur Faisal, you can answer his question.
Oh, okay, I will ask directly question from Mr. Sardiansa. Actually, you asked about budget deficit in APBN instead budget, or probably in local government budget. So it means that if we compare between revenues and expenditures, so that's why some try to apply balanced budget. Some countries try to set maybe surplus budget and deficit budget. So Indonesia, in reality, even though that we set balanced budget, which is covered by financing instrument, in terms of budget, in several years, and then for the following years, we still do what's that, deficit budget, which means that expenditures is more exceed than revenues. Yeah, you can see in my presentation, there's the diagram of how much money, whether in accountability reports and also budget bill. You can see that revenues is greater, expenditure is greater than revenues is expected. So that's why the delta, I mean the differences between expected expenditures and revenues becomes, that's the number of the deficit, budget deficit. That's my question. Of course, if you would like to minimize or eradicate about budget deficit, of course, there's two things that government try to increase gradually about the revenue. So that's why government try to improve tax ratio. Yeah, currently maybe between 10 to 11%. If we compare with other countries, it can achieve 15%. So if we can achieve 15%, the revenue will be greater. And also non-tax revenue, how we utilize asset, including revenues from public service agencies. There are so many public service agencies like hospitals, universities. I don't know. I think Brawijaya is still part of BLU, or maybe it's become what's that? Another legal entity. And then, of course, we try to reduce, simplify, or maybe efficiency in budget expenditure as well. So that's why government try to reduce, subsidize, and also try to evaluate, to do some spending review, which budget expenditure should be minimized. Yeah, but of course, like Professor Marco said, budget is about a discussion which one will be priorities, and then it can change based on situation, including when we deal with pandemic COVID-19 as well. That's my answer, Mbak Aulia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nur Faisal. And the next question will be asked by Aulia Rahman. Aulia Rahman, are you there? Okay.
So, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
So, my question is to Mr. Marco. As we know, when the coronavirus came, Italy was in the worst condition. Thus, how does the government allocate the changes to funds to tackle the coronavirus case? And does the significant withdrawal from other preference affected the national economy of Italy? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
May I answer?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
you for your question. That it is a very complicated one, but also very interesting. Yes, you are right. According to the European Union regulation, the Italian economy was not really in good shape when the COVID-19 crisis arrived. And there was a long discussion in Italy about how to cope with this crisis and how to And also if this crisis could be an opportunity to reform Italy, how to take advantage also from this crisis in order to change many public policies in Italy. But Italy, as you know, is part of the European Union, and this is why the answer was not only based on national resources, but also on European resources. What I want to say is that the debate was not only a national debate, was a European debate. And Italy was one of the actors participating in this debate. And this is a multi-level, let's say, debate, because many of the budgeting rules are not established at national level, but at European level. For example, we have for the countries that have adopted the common currency, as like in Thailand, two important criteria to respect. The 3% of the ratio between deficit and GDP, and the 60% of ratio between debt and GDP. Italy was okay looking at the 3% deficit GDP the ratio, but it was beyond the ceilings of the 60% debt, together with many European countries, but Italy and Greece in particular were not respecting this parameter, this criterion, since a long time. So what is the what has changed? Italy had not, because of this huge public debt, Italy has not the possibility to invest a lot in changing the national economy. So this is why Italy was one of the main actors at the European level asking for European reform in managing budget, national budget policy, national macroeconomic policies. So and here the answer, look at what the European Union is doing at the EU level. I mean, for all the members of the European Union, and particularly for the member of the Economic and Monetary Union. The COVID-19 crisis has produced, let's say, three different kinds of answers by the European Union. First, less fiscal rules. That is to say that the states are now able to overcome the ceilings, the limits of 3% of deficit GDP ratio and 60% of public debt GDP. The European Commission has decided to relax the control of these two parameters, and the states are now more free to invest and spend their money. Second answer, the loans. Loans from the European Union came mainly from the European Central Bank and the European Investment Bank. The European Investment Bank is a bank for investment in the, let's say, poorest regions of the European Union. The European Central Bank took an historical decision of buying public debt titles of the weaker and the weakest member states, and among them Italy was one of the main beneficiaries. The third answer by the European Union was investment, particularly with two new instruments, or one is very new, the other one is a bit older, but anyway, it has been reformed. I will tell you more about that tomorrow, but these two instruments are the European Stability Mechanism, that it is an instrument for investment in this specific crisis in the healthcare system, hospitals. The second answer was new tools called the Next Generation EU. And this is a particularly powerful instrument of 150 billion euros of investment devoted to the European states for whatever they want to do in order to overcome this crisis. But I will be more precise tomorrow. But what I want to say, answering the question, is that when you look at the debate in Italy, and you look at the instruments in general the European states have adopted in order to overcome this crisis, you always need to look at the European Union level also, because our economies, since the adoption of the Economic and Monetary Union in particular, are so interconnected that the answer should be, in a way, at least coordinated, if not eventually common.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Brunazzo. Okay, the next person to ask is Latifatul Fitriah Umar.
Yes. Okay, my question is for Mr. Fadila Amin. So, is it Indonesia has a good execution in public budgeting? And what are the obstacles in execution of public budgeting that always face in Indonesia? So, yeah, that's my question. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Latifatul Fitriah Umar. Prof. Amin, please.
Okay. Thank you for your question, anyway. About the execution of the budget in local government in Indonesia, one of the main obstacles that faced by local government staff, as I mentioned before, that is, first is a lot of new regulation, a lot of new guidelines that is relatively new issued by by central government. So it is very challenge for the local government staff, because we just been familiar with the existing regulation, for example, but suddenly new regulation come, and then this new regulation usually completely replace the old system. That's why the local government staff, they have to learn in detail about the new regulation. So it is very, very challenge for the local government staff. But however, it will give kind of like blessing as well for other parties. What kind of blessing is like because the local government staff face kind of difficulties or something to implement the new guidelines of the budgeting system, budgeting process. So usually they rely on the consultant. They usually coming from universities or something. So in here, so a lot of advantages for my colleagues, for my friends who become consultant in governmental bodies, both at national and local level. Like Professor Andi Feftawijaya is one of the leading consultant in local government institution, something like this. So yeah, and then the second one is about the usually the what is it when new guideline issued by central government, the central government don't give kind of orientation first to the local government staff. They just issue a new regulation, and then without any proper preparation anyway. So obviously confusion among the local government staff will happen, and also the third point of the obstacle of the execution of budget in local government is that because very strict rule now currently applied in this budgeting system. So because if there is something mistake or fault or something like this, the consequence is very hard, because possibly the official staff will be sent to the court or even to the jail. So it will be very complicated. So that's why, because of very hard consequences, they have to be handled by the local government staff. So usually they are extremely careful in executing everything. It is good actually, but in some extent, if we too too careful, I mean, it's not good as well, because it will be slow down the execution or something. Because when the for example, I can give you example is for official who have a duty to spend money, for example, to buy or maybe to finance kind of project. But when they consider that it will be risky for them, because with consideration, if there is wrong procedure to execute this, they will give consequences, and then they will send to the jail or something like this. So sometimes they prefer to do nothing. So the consequence is a lot of unutilized budget in local government currently, around 30% or maybe even more. Sometimes is a lot of unutilized in particular local government. And then I will explain a little bit more tomorrow about this thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Amin. There are several questions, and several people already raised their hand to ask some question, but I will choose the last person to ask the question. Juan D. Peter? Yes, okay.
Thank you. Am I audible?
We can hear you.
Okay. I want to ask a question to Professor Marco. In the part features of the governmental budgeting in Europe, is that in public budgeting, there might be a lot of participants. It could be a citizen, government, NGOs, or business sectors. I believe that in public budgeting, government is really intervene a lot in making public budgeting. How about another type of the participants, such as NGOs or business sectors? Is there any possibilities that NGOs or business sector intervene in public budgeting? And if I am not wrong, you also said that Italy is the most transparent country in Europe regarding to public budgeting. As we know, in this era today, because of the COVID-19, many countries are facing their economic recessions. How is it? How the way of Italian government to be able giving their transparency related to the public budgeting? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Juan. Professor Bunazo, please.
So thank you for these two questions. About the plurality, yes, I didn't mention many actors that are part of the budgeting policy and the budgeting policy process. For example, the press. The press is another actor that can that contribute to the debate to inform the citizens. NGOs can be particularly important, and I can just give you an example of how they can be important, looking at an experience of a colleague of my university that founded an NGO for the fight against poverty in Italy, and was able to shape the policy of the government in the field of help to the what is called the minimum standard budget for people in difficulty. So this was a successful case in which an NGO without link with political parties was able to influence the decisions of the government because it was able to because it was able to adopt a strategy very effective. There was a momentum in which it was the government was looking for solutions to the specific problem of minimum revenue for the citizens, and in that specific moment, the NGO was there able to suggest a solution. Yes, in this plurality of actors, actors that are not institutional in the sense that they are not formally part of the budgetary process can have a say and can lobby the national institutions to contribute and to foster, to create, to negotiate and to decide the final form of the budget. The second question was about transparency. Italy, according to OECD, is not the most transparent countries in Europe, but is between the most transparent countries, among the countries which make more efforts in order to be transparent. And as I said, it is now possible for the citizens to understand how their specific money, my money, are spent by the government. But transparency is also measured in another form, according to OECD, and it is to say documents that are easily understandable by the citizens. This is a big effort all the government should do because many of the decisions related to the budget, but not only the budget, to many public policies are very technical, are very difficult to understand for the common citizens. Let's say they don't have instruments to enter in such complicated and such technical debates. So what the government the Italian governments, but also other European governments are doing is to try to be very transparent by producing documents that are easily understandable. I don't know, very simple explication, and they with a lot of graph and pictures and examples, very concrete examples, and they make available these documents on their internet sites. So this is what is going on, not only in Italy, but according to the OECD, Italy is one of the countries that have tried to adopt this kind of approach. Thank you again for your question.
Thank you, Professor Brunazzo. Every single countries in Europe has different budgeting system and policy. However, European Union give effect to the budgeting policy of the countries. How is the policy of particular country? How about the policy in Indonesia? It will be discussed tomorrow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this will be the end of our session. We will thank all the speakers for delivering great materials today. Please give some virtual applause for them. Before we end our session for today, the committee would like to take a picture of your attending. So please start the camera in your Zoom application and give your best smile to the camera. Okay, are we ready? Okay. Are we ready? Oh, I would like to remind you that the attendance form is already in the chat box, so you can fill the form and you will get the certificate. And don't forget to come for the event tomorrow, because there will be the second session of today's session. At the same time, at the same place. Oh no, different Zoom link. Okay, the committee, are we ready? Okay. Okay, there are 9 pages of the audience. So the first page, please smile. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. And for the second page, please smile. 1, 2, 3. The third page, please make a pose. 1, 2, 3. The fourth page, smile. 1, 2, 3. The fifth page. Okay, smile. 1, 2, 3. The sixth page. Oh, there's no cameras on. Well, at least your name will be there. Okay, the seventh page. There's no camera on again. Well, okay. The eighth page, it's the same. 1, 2, 3. And the last page, the ninth page. Okay, 1, 2, 3. It's done. Thank you for the audience. And ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the committee, thank you for making your time to join us this afternoon. It's been our pleasure to host this event. I wish you a great day and a good night. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Mbak Aulia.
Thank you, Marco.
Professor
Thank
Amin,
you, Prof. Ruzano.
Thank you. Thank you all. See you
Mr.
tomorrow.
Faisal, Prof. Andi Fefta, Prof. Amin.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you for all the audience. See you tomorrow at the same time.
See you.
See you,
See you.
Andy.
See you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Yusri. You can leave the meeting room.